Hello and welcome to the show. This is Explore Ethiopia from Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation with me, Gzachoder. Ethiopia is known as the origin of mankind, or the cradle of mankind. As today's world population exceeds 7 billion, all descends from Lucy, which is the cradle of mankind. Exploring Ethiopia is exploring Africa. We are in Johannesburg, the Republic of South Africa, the busiest city. You can see the statue of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, the icon in the freedom against apartheid for the people of the black world. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela did unforgettable contribution for the people of South Africa, especially the black. In the struggle against apartheid, he contributed immense, which is uncountable. In his struggle against apartheid, Ethiopia has also contributed much, giving support for Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela. In this regard, for his contribution that he made, and his legacy still resonates in the minds of successive generations too. Black Africans remember him for his contribution. In today's Explore Ethiopia, we see and we visit his memorial in Johannesburg, the busiest city in the Republic of South Africa. We are touring here. What he contributed, his contributions, as well as the legacy that he put for the upcoming generation. Do stay with us. Nice to meet you here in Johannesburg in the memorial of Nelson Mandela.
Good to meet you. Welcome to the Nelson Mandela Foundation. Okay, you're welcome. I'm going to take you now to the archive repository where we keep some of Nelson Mandela's original handwritten documents.
Okay.
So this is the archive repository where we hold some of the artifacts that Nelson Mandela received over the years. Mm-hmm. So these are gifts that he received from different people, which we preserve. It includes awards that he received in this cabinet. Mm-hmm. So this is from the rest of Africa.
Okay, the gift.
The awards, so freedom of cities, orders, national orders of countries, things like that. So this is for Africa, this is for South Africa. Mm-hmm. And then it's by continent.
By
Australia,
continent. This is from
Asia, Europe, North and South America.
This is from Europe?
Yeah, this is from Europe.
Okay. From Europe? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And international organizations.
International organizations.
Right.
Among others, which international organization?
It would be, various different ones. UNESCO, the UN.
Mm-hmm. This one?
This is
UNESCO
Goodwill Ambassador.
Mm-hmm. Nelson Mandela. Okay. Is hereby designed UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador. Okay. 2005, 18 years ago. Mm-hmm. Is that? Great. This is his Nobel, I think.
No, that's the Rotary International.
The Rotary International.
Yeah. The Nobel Peace Prize, I'll show you. It's not held here.
Okay.
Mandela went to Ethiopia in 1962.
Mm-hmm. 1962.
Yeah, when Mandela got training in Ethiopia, these apparently were the boots that he left behind, and it was given to us a few years ago. By the person who kept it.
Okay. So this shoe that he put on while traveling to Ethiopia?
Yes, and he left it behind in Ethiopia. He didn't take it with.
Oh, so somebody from
kept it and gave it to us.
Okay, from Ethiopia.
From Ethiopia, yes.
Okay, I also heard that the Ethiopian government, the then Ethiopian government, gave him passport.
Yes, so in 1962 he left South Africa in January, and he was smuggled into Botswana, which was then Bechuanaland. And he then went to Ethiopia, and he got a passport under the name of David Motsamai, which he used to travel to other African countries. And then he also traveled to London on that passport. The passport was confiscated by the security police, and it was used as evidence in
to prosecute him.
His trial. Yes. So the original passport is lost, but in the evidence of both the Rivonia trial where he was sentenced to life and his earlier trial, it was used, so a copy was made of it. So we have a
Copy of it. You have a copy of it. Good.
of that. Our Peace Prize.
Okay.
This is the one that was given to Nelson Mandela in December of 1993.
1993. Okay. 30, almost close to 30 years ago. 1993. Yeah, almost before 30 years. Wow. Okay,
And
1993.
then this is the citation that goes with the Nobel Peace Prize.
The certificate, yeah. Free Nobel, 1993. I mean, 90, yeah. November 1993.
I'm sure you'll find this very interesting since coffee comes from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So Kenya was Nelson Mandela's favorite coffee brand. So when he was in prison at some point, he could use his own money to buy groceries. So he would ask for this coffee to be bought.
Okay.
And a few years ago, his warder gave it to us. So he says,
The one he was used to there.
this is the tin, yes, while in prison. So the last 14 months of his imprisonment, he wasn't in a cell, he was in a house at another prison complex. So he was taken from Robben Island to a prison called Paulsmoor, and then from Paulsmoor to a prison called Victor Verster Prison.
Okay.
And it's there where he spent his last 14 months in prison. And he was having this coffee, and then the warder tells us that he used this tin to bake bread for Mandela while he was in jail.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
For how long did you stay here in this archive and documentation?
I joined the foundation in 2007,
2007.
Yes.
So 17 years ago.
many years ago.
17 years ago.
I'll show you some of Mandela's handwriting.
Handwritings.
This book, this has letters written by Nelson Mandela, but because it's quite old and fragile,
Yeah.
we don't show the original. What we've done,
Copies of it.
so we've digitized it and we've created copies of it.
Copies of it, okay.
Yes. So this is the very first page of the notebook. It says family correspondence. So what used to happen is that Nelson Mandela would draft a letter
Later.
in the notebook and then copy it onto a piece of paper and give that paper to the prison authorities to post. So he did that because he was never certain that his letters were going to be posted.
Posted, yeah.
And in the early years, he was only allowed 500 words every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
Every 6 months.
Even his ideas were supposed to be limited.
Yes.
It was at their discretion.
And he could only write about family matters. So if the prison authorities thought that he's writing about politics or anything that they didn't want him to write about, they would censor his letters. They would either scratch it out or they would cut out parts of his letter. So we have seen letters where there's a few sentences and then they've cut out a whole section and it doesn't matter what's written at the back. Yeah. So this is the very first letter in
The
this
very first
notebook.
letter.
In this notebook, yes. So it's written in February of 1969 to
1969.
his daughters Zinani and Zinzi.
Okay.
Initially, they were very strict. It was to family, about family matters. Yes.
They're not political.
Not political. If they thought it was something political, they would censor the letter.
Dear viewers and the listeners, as you have heard, while Nelson Mandela was in prison, his idea was limited, not to exceed 500 words in every 6 months. His idea was limited, not to exceed that. Unfortunately, victory and history has already been on his side. Eventually, he made history, not only being limited, expressing his ideas that comes to his mind, he also overwhelmingly win those who suppressed him. It is known that it is totally impossible to stop an idea whose time has come. This is what a vivid reality we witness today, the victory of Nelson Mandela still transcends the legacy of time and autocracy. As a fan of Nelson Mandela, and the one who values the freedom of each and everyone, what do you observe and what do you feel?
I think I'm very honored to be working with Nelson Mandela's papers. I've read almost everything here. I think he was a very optimistic and positive person. So despite spending over 27 years of incarceration or being in prison, he was always optimistic that freedom will come in his lifetime. And in the letters that he writes to his family, he's always encouraging them to do better, to take care of humanity, and to get an education. Education was very important for him.
He is known by his known proverb, education is the most powerful weapon that can change the world.
Yeah. So this is Nelson Mandela's post-presidential office.
Post-presidential office?
Yes.
Okay.
So he worked here from 2002 and he last came here in November of 2010.
2010 for 8 years.
Yeah.
For almost 8 years. Okay.
He was president of South
after
Africa for one term, 94 to 99. And then after 1999, he needed a place to work from. So the Nelson Mandela Foundation was established.
So 2000.
So 1999, the Nelson Mandela Foundation was established, but it worked from his house where you're going to go just now, Sanctuary Mandela. So the offices were there, 99 to 2002. And then 2002, the foundation relocated to this place. So this was his office from 2002 until he last came here in 2010. This is his sons. He had two sons, Tembekile, the older one, and Makhato, the younger one. Tembekile died in a car accident while he was in Robben Island, and Makhato died in 2005.
2005.
He read all of them. Some of them he would have read, but as he was given gifts, they were put up on the shelf there.
Is this Oliver Tambo?
That is Oliver Tambo. So Nelson Mandela asked for two people's photos to be placed in his office, in this office. So it's Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu.
Walter Sisulu.
So Walter Sisulu was his close friend and comrade, older than Mandela, and he was also sentenced to life in the Rivonia trial, and he spent his time in Robben Island with Madiba and then Victor Verster prison. Walter Sisulu was released in 1989.
The first person who just grew up to join politics as
yes,
well.
Yes, you
when
know.
He was in John.
Yeah, that's him, yeah.
Dear viewers, you are watching Explore Ethiopia. We are in the Republic of South Africa, in the busiest city of Johannesburg. We are touring the Memorial Foundation of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Here with me from Ethiopian Embassy, Head of Diplomatic and Political and Strategic Departments, Balacho Wujubo. Mr. Balacho, nice to see you here in the Memorial Foundation of Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Do tell us your observation and your feeling while you are here in this Memorial Foundation.
Thank you very much, Gzacho. This wonderful opportunity to see this grand and a great experience that people and a generation go through to find their destiny, their freedom from the oppressors and the pushers. So Mandela is a live example. We know him, we heard about him, we'll read about him, but looking at this, practical and first-hand information is very amazing and different as well. So I think this is an inspirational issue. When you talk about struggle, from generation to generation, the struggle could be different. There is a technology struggle, there is economic struggle, there is another, freedom issues. So Mandela and his comrades well addressed the freedom address, the political issues, the oppressions. But the issues still continues in generation in different nature. It could be economic, it could be technological, it could be cultural freedom. So this is the issue that teaches us if we still fight if we still commit ourselves and our life, we can make and we go to our destiny. So this is the experience what I'm observing this, and then I'm consolidating the history, the knowledge, what I heard about this great African boy.
You are head of political and strategic affairs here in the Ethiopian embassy in South Africa. How do you see the relation between Ethiopia and the Republic of South Africa since the dawn of history, especially in the struggle against apartheid?
Yeah, that's just the relationship between South Africa is not only limited to the diplomatic aspect, which means the traditional diplomatic interpretation, state-to-state relation. It is beyond that. You know, when Nelson Mandela and his comrades were, struggling and looking for a light ahead, Ethiopia was there. The Ethiopian leaders were there to help them and to help all African liberation movement, comrades. So then Ethiopia and some of the few African countries were there to stand up and to go to work with Mandela and his comrades. We are very happy that Mandela started his, abroad or the overseas tour just from Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. So Ethiopia was the first or the second country to be visited by Mr. Mandela when he was the leader of ANC Youth League. And then he achieved to see the leaders in Ethiopia and managed some of the military and security supports from that side. And then at the time, they offered those necessary things around, even including giving him travel documents, which later Mr. Mandela was accused of, moving across without having a travel document and this and that. So this makes you different feeling. Mm-hmm. This is not simply historical process. This is human attachment. That's the thing that your brother stands with you, your father stands with you, your needed person is besides you when it is needed. Oh, yeah. So that's the attachment we have people to people. Then the diplomatic relation formally started in 1994, just after freedom, after Mr. Mandela became first black president of South Africa. Then the two countries, corresponded at a diplomatic level, state to state. Then since then, we had amazing results we achieved together in African issue, in continental issue, including the climate, including speaking in one voice as an Africa. So in this case, Ethiopia and Africa worked together and it still continued. So the issue is now getting into strategic level. Yeah. So we are standing with South Africa in all the strategic issues at global, at continental level. And then our relationship as country to state, people to people, is getting into a strategic level. And we are happy to enjoy that warmly relationship between these two nations.
Thank you.
I am Dr. Liaquat Ali Azam. I'm the CEO of the Leading Like Mandela Institute. It was established by Nelson Mandela's eldest grandchild, Professor Indileka Mandela, and I serve as the CEO.
The CEO of Leading Like Mandela Institute. Wow.
It was established with Nelson Mandela in 2012 with his blessings as the patron and to continue his leadership legacy, because the world recognizes Nelson Mandela as one of the greatest leaders of this time, and his leadership style is so important for this age.
Who is Nelson Mandela for you?
Well, Nelson Mandela firstly is the father of our nation, firstly. As the greatest, one of the greatest leader of this time, he epitomized an African leader and African leadership values, and his way was he was always an integrated leader. So he promoted peace, he promoted unity, and he promoted diversity. But really, that is what Nelson Mandela epitomized and stands for me. He's our father of freedom, but a father of peace and unity for all mankind.
ANC was established in 1912, 114 years ago, but it was in the late 1940s, 1950s that the ANC's struggle against apartheid has galvanized thousands and millions of black South Africans. Where is the legacy of Nelson Mandela today in the minds of black South Africans.
You know, we celebrated now on the 27th of April 30 years of our democracy as South Africa. And for us as South Africans, we are very proud of the legacy of Nelson Mandela. You know, the values of the ANC that was really about unity, diversity, but also promoting a pan-African vision, because really for us as Nelson Mandela's legacy was about unity as one, you know, humanity. And for really that is where we stand. We are a young democracy, you know, 3 decades. There's been many great, you know, opportunities still for us to improve. But given Nelson Mandela's legacy, I believe that we can create a better world for all, a world that is more peaceful, that's more united, and there's more.
Being a youth of South African in the struggle against apartheid, do you know the contribution of Ethiopia in this regard?
Yes, most definitely. We are, you know, Nelson Mandela spoke fondly of Ethiopia and his visit in 1962. You know, as we know, he was offered the passport by Ethiopia, and he was hosted there and trained as well. You know, he was offered training, military training as well, in terms of really to stand up, because the Mkhonto we Sizwe was established at the time as well, and Nelson Mandela spent time in Ethiopia. So we're very grateful for the role Ethiopia had played. But also, it was also when Nelson Mandela in January, on the 11th of January 1962, you know, he presented and addressed the African leaders, the Pan-African Freedom Movement, you know, conference. And this is where he galvanized support for the liberation of our people and also promoted the unity of Africa and Pan-African ideals. So as South Africans, we continue with that legacy. It's important for us, you know, we are one Africa, and the Pan-African ideals and the values. Also drawing on the Battle of Adwa. You know, the victory of Adwa was a victory for all Africans. It wasn't only for Ethiopia, even though it was in 1896, led by, you know, His Imperial Majesty, you know, Emperor Menelik II. We as Africans and South Africans continue to uphold it. Nelson Mandela was inspired by the, you know, Ethiopian values and also the liberation of Adwa and the victory of Adwa, because that began the liberation of Africa from all forms of colonization and oppression. So we're very grateful to Ethiopia. You know, I visited there personally, and we were warmly received by your government and your leaders and the people. So that connection will always be there between Ethiopia and South Africa.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Liaquet Aliazam, the CEO of the Institute of Leading Like Mandela, thank you very much for your expertise analysis. Thank you very much.
And I would like to share maybe a message for the youth as well.
Please.
Shall I do it? Yeah, well, for us, you know, Nelson Mandela said it is in your hands now, you know. Nelson Mandela lived and he created a future, and he sacrificed and contributed and dedicated his life to ensure that the future generations are free. So it's important that, you know, we educate our youth. Education, as Nelson Mandela said, is the most powerful weapon we have and tool to change the world. So we should ensure to the youth of Africa and the world, education is key, unity is key. Let us focus on peace and respect diversity.
I think the legacy of Nelson Mandela is a very important one to bring about peace and justice for all people. Nelson Mandela wasn't just standing for one community. He was interested in social justice issues all around the world. So after he was released and he became president of the country, he was very interested in other conflict areas that are happening in the world, in Ireland, in the Great Lake regions, in Africa. And he was an inspiration for people who were being exploited, oppressed, facing injustice everywhere, to be as a beacon of hope. So I think that's his legacy, to create a better world for all the people of the world.
Being head of the archive and documentation in Nelson Mandela's Memorial Foundation, what message do you want to convey for youth, especially the black South Africans in particular, and also black Africans in general, those who can learn from Nelson Mandela?
I think the important message that Madiba left us with is that he did his part for freedom, but it's in our hands to carry on that legacy. So wherever we are, in whatever way we can, in the communities that we live in is to ensure that we work for a better world, for social justice, for peace, and for democracy.
What should other African countries should do regarding this in promoting his legacy, especially in the struggle against oppressors?
I think is to always have hope, to be educated, to have a vision of a better world. I think if young people have that inspiration, then we can do what we need to do to create a better world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mrs. Redzia Saleh, thank you very much for your time and for your analysis regarding the Memorial Foundation of Nelson Mandela.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hello viewers and listeners, by this we end our today's program, the Memorial Foundation of Nelson Mandela, which is found in Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for your being with us. You can access all our programs in all social media platforms.